Hey there, everybody. It's Jeremy Rosenthal, your briefing attorney. Just wanted to share this story with you from last June about Hunter Biden and his jury trial. At the time that we did this interview, it was unclear whether or not he would testify in his own defense. Obviously, he didn't do that. The jury did go out that afternoon and convicted him very early the next morning. Obviously, Hunter Biden was ultimately pardoned by his dad, the President Joe Biden, prior to his sentencing in December, which was a possibility that we discuss in the video. So, just always fun to go and look back at history, as it were, and enjoy the interview.
Joining us live this morning to provide more perspective, trial attorney Jeremy Rosenthal. Jeremy, good morning to you. So happy to have you here on Live Now.
Good morning, Janae. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. So a lot of eyes on this federal gun trial. We transitioned from taking a close look at what former President Donald Trump was dealing with and now crossing the aisle to current President Joe Biden's son. For those not familiar with why this federal gun trial is even happening for Hunter Biden, could you catch us up, please?
Hunter Biden obviously has a lot of legal issues. He was all set to plead guilty to federal income tax issues, not paying taxes. And as part of that plea deal, the government was basically going to look the other way, just kind of give him a slap on the wrist for this offense, which was being untruthful on a federal form to federally licensed firearm carriers, saying that he was not using drugs or not addicted to drugs. That being a federal offense, a fairly minor one, but Hunter Biden was prepared to accept responsibility for it, and the government was prepared to sort of look the other way. A federal judge blew the plea up last year. Fast forward, now we're in trial on this case, and so far it's been a week or 10 days of trial in this case, and we're looking at winding it up today. The government's put on a lot of evidence of drug use before and after the date that he filled out that form. He was in rehab about 11 days before. They showed text messages through Hallie Biden, Beau Biden's widow, that he had been using in the days immediately after. So a very, very tight needle to thread for Hunter Biden here.
A lot to dissect there. Thank you so much for doing so, Jeremy. So looking at today, the viewers wanting to know is the question that's circulating. Do we think that Hunter Biden could take the stand?
I'd be pretty surprised if he took the stand. As a lawyer, this is where you really kind of got to look at your client's 40,000-foot legal problems as compared to just this one trial. For this one trial, could Hunter Biden take the witness stand? Could he help himself? Potentially, that can happen, but the chances are very low that he will. The prosecution has been running up the score, and if it goes sideways on you, it can go really sideways on you. He's got so many other legal issues. He's got the tax issue. He's got some of his foreign entanglements that maybe he doesn't want to answer questions about, and it doesn't take a whole lot for those topics to kind of work their way in the case, and then you just really get hit and you make your overall legal problems worse. I think that they probably pass on that opportunity.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. And I kind of chuckled to myself as you mentioned that, because as soon as he takes the stand, if he was to, no question is off limits pretty much. The attorney is going to ask them whatever comes to mind to try to discredit them with what they are saying. Taking a look, though, we know that the former president, Donald Trump, when he was dealing with his stuff last week and the weeks prior, he was saying he would much rather be on the campaign trail. We know that current President Joe Biden on the campaign trail saying that he would not pardon his son if his son is found guilty with this federal gun trial. Hearing that, do you think that's a good thing? Because there were, I guess you could say, rumors circulating that the former president would try to pardon himself if he, was found guilty, which he ultimately was.
We have a system of checks and balances, and one of the checks that the executive has in state court and in federal court is the ability to pardon. But because it's executive, because it's directly accountable to the voters, it's a very political one, right? Not always calculated based on what's fair and what's just, although that's the theory, right? The power to pardon comes with it a lot of backlash potentially. Think of Gerald Ford, President Ford, pardoning Richard Nixon. You think of those types of situations and the potential backlash that you face. So no, it's no wonder that President Biden is really very calculated with talking about how his son's case would play into it. The man is facing re-election here in just months. So you would think that there's really no other credible answer he could give right now other than I'm not going to pardon him. If he's on his way out come next January and it's a last minute thing, you never know. The president could do that. The court, and as far as Donald Trump is concerned, were he to be elected, he could try to pardon himself. Whether that's effective or not, we don't know. The courts have not ever resolved that issue, and so that would be an issue that would have to go up to the courts. Obviously, Donald Trump couldn't pardon himself from a New York State case. That would have to be the governor of New York. But pardons are very tricky things. But we always have to keep in mind that's our system of checks and balances. On some level, the politicians get a little bit of a veto here and there over the courts.
Great points there, Jeremy. And I want to ask you, you are in the legal field, you're a trial attorney. I want to ask you, when these pardons happen, do people in your field feel like it's a slap in the face? Do they feel like, well, this was a waste of time? I put out my best act there in the courtroom. I did what I had to do, and now all of it meant nothing. I mean, be real with us.
It can be. It certainly can be for prosecutors, for jurors who sit on a trial, and then at the very end of it, it can be sort of all for naught. On the other side, as a defense lawyer, you have to be realistic with clients when it comes to their ability to get pardoned, and you have to let them know how exceptional it is. There are probably, I can't tell you how many federal defendants in the state of Delaware that are not named Hunter Biden that are not going to get pardons. It is exceptionally rare. It's exceptionally difficult. And you're appealing to a politician. So, and politicians hear repeatedly that, look, we got a raw deal. We got screwed. We're innocent. And I hate saying it, but every inmate in every institution are writing letters frantically for these types of things. So more often than not, when we're talking about these things with everyday clients, with everyday folks, we do have to kind of let them know, look, this is a bit of a pipe dream. We'll never say never. But that's really obviously not our first angle of attack. We're always looking for legal ways to do it. But if your dad happens to be the president, it's a conversation.
Well, hey, Jeremy, we know that President Biden has said that he is a president of accountability. So I guess he's putting his actions where his words are and putting that into place, saying that if his son is found guilty, he would not pardon him. Always a pleasure having you here on Live Now from Fox, Jeremy. Anything you'd like to add before we let you go? I know this case can be a little confusing sometimes. Anything we need to be keeping a close eye on?
This case could make it to the jury today. We're going to have the court's going to charge the jury, that is, read them all the instructions. I do think that the jury's going to be able to take back the instructions in this case, unless this judge has a quirk like that. Donald Trump, in their case, New York state law didn't allow them to do it. I don't know how quickly we'll get a verdict. I don't know that we'll get one today. Could be even today, could be tomorrow, but I do expect this thing to wind to a close pretty quickly here this week.
Jeremy Rosenthal, thank you again for joining us bright and early this Monday morning, setting the stage as many eyes are on this federal gun trial that'll take place during the 8 o'clock hour. Thank you again. You enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. Bye-bye.